But should the ascetics or hermits ask for alms, they would receive caviar by the large shovel which was overflowing out of the barrels that came from Russia. They were all very generous, and this place was then in its glory. Now, Tsarism will not return to Russia, but Christianity one day certainly will, and then they shall return. Then, by the will of God, this place will be revived, as we can see in some of the other monasteries.
Following the First World War, very few new monks came to the mountain. And by the 1960s, the situation was growing critical. The numbers were falling. Nearly all the monks were over 50. It was a rare thing to see a monk with no white hairs in his beard. Then, in the late 60s, it began to change. Young people began coming again to the Holy Mountain. In many cases, they were people who had completed a university education. Some of them had already started a career in the outside world. Monasteries which 15 years ago had only a few elderly monks, barely able to keep the life going, are now full of young monks with a sense of purpose and hope.
Protaaton, the great communal church at the heart of the Holy Mountain, dedicated, like Athos itself, to the Virgin Mary. The visit of a bishop, representing the Patriarch of Constantinople, is the occasion for this ceremony. The disrobing and robing of the bishop is symbolic, a formal part of Orthodox ceremonial, based on a 1,000-year imperial protocol. The rich brocaded vestments and the jewelry echo the orientalized splendor of the Byzantine court. As well as being a place of worship, the Protaaton is also one of the few surviving examples of refined Byzantine painting of the highest quality. This cycle of murals dates to the early 14th century and is attributed to the genius of Manuel Panselinos. Little is known about him. His work is unsigned, but his name has become legendary, and he is undoubtedly one of the great masters of Byzantine painting. For the first time, these paintings are seen in anything other than flickering candlelight. Art historians and believers alike, Athos represents a rich artistic tradition and allows one to see a range of Eastern Christian art which spans 10 centuries. These were painted as late as the 18th century by Dionysius of Fornà in his cell in Carriès. He is the author of the renowned Painter's Manual, describing both the techniques and the iconography of Byzantine painting. The painting of icons still goes on Athos, the residue of a once glorious tradition. The place of retreat and contemplation that Athos is today belies its monumental impact and influence on Christianity. The rays of this beacon have shone out to the most distant of lands. In centuries past, its importance often made it a target for those who wished to silence it, as well as for those attracted by the lure of plunder. Despots and pirates failed to humble or break Athos, but they did force the monks to build their monasteries like fortresses. The raiders were held at bay. The monks of the mountain are as resolute as they've ever been. These are the descendants of holy men who reacted strongly when ideologically threatened. When, in the 14th century, Western rationalists said it was impossible to have a direct personal experience of God, it was the monks of Athos who stood firm. Chief among them was the towering figure of St. Gregory Palamas, who spoke out strongly in defense of the 1,000-year-old Orthodox belief about the way in which God relates to his creation, the world. God is unknowable, agreed Palamas, but he does communicate himself to us through his energies. To use an analogy, just as the sun, a flaming disk in the sky, instills the earth with warmth and light, so God's energies penetrate and transfigure his creation.